Hello, I'm Caroline. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I'll be reading for you from this book, Aboriginal Art and Culture by Jane Bingham. I hope you enjoy. An unchanging lifestyle. For thousands of years, the Aboriginal people followed the same way of life. They lived in small family groups, hunting wild animals, catching fish, and gathering food from plants. Each group belonged to a larger society, and all members of the society spoke the same language and lived in the same territory, known to Aboriginal people as a country. These areas could be very large, especially in the desert, where one society's territory might cover thousands of square kilometres. Knowledge of a society's territory was passed down from one generation to the next through stories, songs, and ceremonies commemorating the dream time. Within their territory, the family groups moved from place to place in search of food, setting up simple shelters wherever they went. When the Europeans arrived, there were over 500 societies scattered throughout Australia, speaking at least 200 different languages. Visitors from Indonesia. Around 1650 CE, fishermen from the island of Makassar, present-day Sulawesi in Indonesia, began arriving on the northern coast of Australia in small sailing boats. Macassan fishermen returned each year to harvest sea slugs and set up temporary villages along the coast of eastern Arnhem Land, spending several months and sometimes years there. The Macassans continued to visit Australia for the next 3 centuries and developed good relations with the indigenous people. The Aboriginals exchanged goods in return for objects, such as metal axes and spearheads, and the Macassan culture had a significant impact on their art. Macassan objects such as knives, guns, anchors and flags are represented in Aboriginal paintings. Local dances reflect the life and work of the Macassan people, and Macassan words occur in Aboriginal songs. Settlers from Britain. In 1770, Captain Cook arrived in Australia and claimed the eastern part of the country for the British king. At that time, jails in Britain were very crowded, and in 1788 the first fleet reached Sydney, including 6 ships carrying convicts to settle in Australia. Many more British convict ships were to follow. Soon after the arrival of the first fleet, British lawyers declared that Australia was terra nullius, meaning empty land. The settlers claimed that this ruling gave them the right to seize any land they wanted. The terra nullius ruling was finally overturned in 1992 by the Australian High Court. Very soon, other settlers arrived from Europe and began seizing land, turning Australia into a colony governed by British officials. The colonists built towns and cities, while enormous stretches of land were covered by their farms. Aboriginal rock paintings record the arrival of the Europeans, with images of their boats and wagons, horses, cattle and sheep. Unfortunately, there was little positive contact between the two cultures. This rock painting shows a fishing boat dragging a large net. The vessel may have belonged to the Macassans or to Europeans who fished off the Australian coast. Rock art. The engravings and paintings found on rock sketches, rock shelters, are the oldest surviving form of Aboriginal art. The earliest known rock engravings date from around 30,000 BC, while paintings have been found from around 20,000 BC. However, experts believe that rock painting began much earlier than this. Surviving fragments of painted rock suggest that the indigenous people began to decorate their landscape from the earliest times. Rock engravings. Some of the earliest markings on rock came from the Cunalda Cave in the Nullarbor Plain of southern Australia. Here, the soft cave walls have been marked with meandering lines, rather like strands of spaghetti. Other early engravings show circles and lines, and scattered animal footprints. The largest collection of carved geometric designs has been found in the deserts of southern Australia. But geometric carvings survive in sites all over Australia and also on the island of Tasmania. The earliest surviving rock paintings in Australia date from around 20,000 BCE and show hand stencils, footprints and animal forms, usually painted in red ochre. These simple early designs are probably intended to show where an ancestor spirit passed by. However, by around 10,000 BCE, paintings on rocks had become much more sophisticated. As well as showing animals, they depict human figures engaged in a range of activities. Two major groups of early paintings have been found in Australia. In Arnhem Land in northern Australia, a series of scenes in the dynamic style were painted from around 10,000 to 6,000 BCE, while a set of paintings known as the Bradshaw or Guion figures and dating from around 6,000 BCE have been discovered in the Kimberley region in northwest Australia. These hand stencils found in the Kakadu National Park, Arnhem Land, may be around 20,000 years old. Dynamic style paintings. The dynamic style paintings of Arnhem Land were given their name because of their lively figures, which appear to be racing over the surface of the rocks. They were painted around the end of the last ice age, when sea levels were beginning to rise, and show a range of land animals, but also sea and river creatures. Usually painted in red ochre, the dynamic style figures are tall and spindly, and often finely detailed. Many wear elaborate headdresses and carry weapons or fans, and they're often shown in vigorous movement, hunting, fighting, or taking part in rituals. Depictions of fights in the paintings may indicate the growing competition for land at this time. In the final phases of the dynamic style around 3,000 years ago, the painted figures of Arnhem Land became less elegant and stick-like. Figures were drawn more simply and had rounded yam-shaped bodies and swollen-looking limbs. These rock paintings from Arnhem Land are in the dynamic style. The elongated figures run energetically across the rock face, holding spears and fans. Aboriginal artists have used the same natural pigments for thousands of years. Red and yellow ochre, earth colours, are made from ground-up rock, white is made from pipe clay, while black is produced from charcoal. The pigments are ground into a fine powder and mixed with a binder, such as the sap from an orchid plant, which holds the mixture together. Sculpture and carving. Sculptures in wood were probably once created in many parts of Australia, but now only scattered examples can be found. Some of the most dramatic sculptures are made on Bathurst and Melville Islands off the northern coast of Australia, which were originally part of the mainland, while other striking examples survive in Arnhem Land in northern Australia. Smaller scale carvings are made in Cape York Peninsula in northern Queensland, and there's also evidence of a tradition of creating toas or marker posts in the Lake Eyre region of central Australia. Tiwi people believe that a grave post represents the spirit of a dead person. The posts are carved in a stylized human shape, and their decorations are similar in style to Tiwi body paintings. Designs often represent the ancestor spirits of a particular society. Tiwi grave posts. The Tiwi people of Bathurst and Melville Islands hold dramatic funeral ceremonies to mark the death of important men or women in their society. At the climax of these ceremonies, large carved and painted posts called pukamani poles are placed around the grave as a final gift to the dead person and as a lasting memorial to them. Tiwi artists prepare for the task of making a grave post by first finding a suitable hardwood tree and then meditating on the story for its carved and painted designs. However, as soon as a tree is felled, carving must be completed fast before the wood begins to harden. Once the carving is done, the posts are rolled through a fire to dry the timber and prevent it from cracking. Then the posts are painted with a traditional design, and artists usually add some patterns of their own. Cape York sculptures. On the Cape York Peninsula in northern Queensland, the indigenous people carve small-scale wooden sculptures to be used in funerals and other ceremonies. The sculptures are painted in ochre colours and sometimes have added details made from beeswax, feathers, horsehair or leather. The carvings may show an ancestor spirit, such as the seagull hero, or an object associated with a spirit, such as a digging stick, a canoe, or paddle. Other sculptures illustrate events from the spirits' lives. A powerful carving by Jackson Wooler shows the terrible fate of a boy who was punished by the spirits for entering a forbidden place by being made unable to walk again. This carved and painted kangaroo is in the tradition of the Cape York sculptures. Toas of Lake Eyre. Between 1888 and 1906, Pastor Johann Reuter, a Christian missionary in the Lake Eyre region of central Australia, made a collection of painted toas. These small sculptures, which range in length from 15 to 57 centimetres, consist of a pointed wooden peg onto which a knob made from the gypsum, a type of natural plaster, has been moulded. The wooden base and knob are usually painted with ochre, and their designs include bands of colour and dots. Sometimes other materials are attached to the knob, such as bone, shell, wood, hair, or feathers. The toas appear to have had a range of different uses. Some of them were probably used to mark an important place. For example, a toa of a pelican's head was probably used to identify Lake Tambarakarani, which means the lake where the pelicans stand. Other toas may have commemorated a special event on an ancestor spirit's journey. A carved foot may show where an ancestor stopped to rest, while a toa with a bone attached to it may represent a place where one of the ancestors' followers died. Many experts believe that some of the toas in Pastor Reuter's collection may have been created by the indigenous people, especially for him. However, the Lake Eyre toas are probably all examples of an ancient tradition of using way markers to indicate important places on a dreaming track. Hollow log coffins. One of the ancient rituals still carried out by the people of central and eastern Arnhem Land is the hollow log coffin, or bone coffin ceremony. This involves the burying of a person's bones in a second burial ceremony sometime after they've died. In the first stage of the bone coffin ceremony, a suitable log is found that has already been hollowed out by termites. This log is taken to a special camp where it is cleaned and painted with traditional designs. While people perform songs and dances, the bones of the dead are also cleaned and painted with red ochre before being placed in the log. When the series of songs and dances has been completed, dancers carry the log to the main public camp, where it is stood upright and then left. The Aboriginal people see the upright hollow log coffins as a forest containing the spirits of the dead. Baobab nuts and emu's eggs. Indigenous Australians believe that decorating objects with traditional patterns and stories helps to fill these objects with the powers of the ancestor spirits. The people of the Kimberley region in Western Australia have a long tradition of carving baobab nuts. The dark-coloured nuts are carved to reveal the lighter wood beneath. Traditionally, carvers showed geometric patterns and mazes. But by the early 20th century, carved baobab nuts featured realistic scenes such as farmers and divers at work, and Aboriginal prisoners in chains. In the desert regions of Western Australia, greenish-coloured emu's eggs were carved to reveal the white shell beneath. This art flourished in the 19th century, when artists showed realistic scenes and figures in a style influenced by European art. This decorated baobab nut is carved to reveal the lighter wood underneath. It features traditional patterns including the snake ancestor. Weapons and shields. Weapons and shields once played a vital part in the lives of the Aboriginal people, and there's still a thriving practice of making decorated shields, spear throwers and boomerangs. The boomerang is an Aboriginal invention that can be used as a weapon for hunting or fighting, a tool for cutting or digging, or as a percussion instrument to accompany dances and songs. Some Indigenous groups also hold sporting competitions in which contestants compete to see how far they can throw the boomerang. The light but strong returning boomerang was originally used for hunting water birds. It's made mainly in southeast and southwest Australia, while the heavy hooked boomerang, sometimes known as a boomerang club, which is used for hunting and killing larger animals, is found in most regions of the country. Boomerangs can be decorated with engraved carvings or with poker work, patterns burnt into the wood. Recently, the boomerang has become a popular symbol in contemporary Aboriginal paintings. Spear throwers. The people of the central desert regions make spear throwers which allow them to throw their long wooden spears for distances of over 90 metres. The spear thrower consists of a flat, oval, wooden holder to which a kangaroo's claw or a wild dog's tooth is attached by a strong string made of gut. The spear rests on the wooden holder and its end is slotted into the tooth or claw, drawn back and then released, allowing the spear to travel very fast and accurately. Shields. The indigenous people of New South Wales and Victoria create wooden shields that are covered with elaborate carvings. Skilled carvers decorate the surface of the shields with deeply engraved geometric forms, which are filled with ochre. Designs often consist of flowing parallel lines and sometimes also feature the outlines of animals. A different type of decoration is found on the shields of the rainforest people of northern Queensland. These curved shields, made from the roots of fig trees, are painted with bold patterns that at first sight appear to be purely abstract, but which in fact represent a range of creatures. Queensland's shields are decorated with semi-abstract patterns which provide good camouflage in the depths of the rainforest. This brightly painted boomerang, made for the tourist market, are painted with symbols often found in Western desert art. The Queensland ceramic artist Thankupi decorates her pots with traditional animal patterns found on the shields of the region. The circular form of her pots is copied from the clay balls that were traditionally used as containers for ochre pigments. Body art. The early Aboriginal rock paintings show people wearing a range of body art. In these paintings, hunters have painted bodies and wear nosepins, necklaces and pendants, and tasselled armbands, while dancers performing ceremonies wear elaborate headdresses, sometimes decorated with feathers, pins, tassels, and strings. Today, most Indigenous people wear European dress, but some still wear traditional ornaments and body paint for special ceremonies, such as initiations and funerals. Ornaments and adornments. Some body adornments, such as pendants or nosepins, may be worn every day, and these often indicate the society to which a person belongs. For example, the members of one group may wear a pendant made from a certain animal's teeth, while people from another group may wear a shell chest ornament. Other ornaments, such as feathered dancing belts and headdresses, or mourning armbands, are usually only worn for special occasions. The people of Western Arnhem Land tell the story of how Luma Luma, their giant ancestor spirit, taught his people their body designs. Before he died, Luma Luma took a stone knife and cut a fine pattern of crisscross lines into his chest, explaining that each segment represented an area of his country. He instructed his people that they must wear these designs in their ceremonies. Sometimes an ornament shows a person's status. Aboriginal boys are often presented with a weapons belt when they reach puberty, and some southeastern Aboriginal women wear a ceremonial apron made from emu feathers, which is discarded after the birth of their first child. Body ornaments can be made from a wide range of materials. The Tiwi people of Bathurst and Melvin Islands make armlets from bark and feathers, and carve wooden pendants that are then decorated with seeds set in beeswax. The people of the Kimberley region in northwest Australia produced engraved pearl shell ornaments, which are highly prized because of their magical, shimmering surfaces, while the Diari people of the central desert region make tassels from the white tail tips of the bilby, a rabbit-like creature. The colours red, black and yellow have become especially associated with the Aboriginal people and are used for their flag. Many Indigenous people today wear headbands or jewellery in these colours or have red, black and yellow tattoos. Body painting. Aboriginal people decorate their bodies before taking part in important rituals. They paint their skin with clays and ochres, and sometimes also apply downy feathers using tree sap. Often the patterns painted on a man's body represent the country of his society, showing in symbolic form its rocks, rivers, trees and waterholes. These Aboriginal boys are wearing body paint and ornaments, ready for their initiation ceremony. Ceremonies, songs and dance. Ceremonies and rituals are a vital part of Aboriginal life. They combine music, dance, song and storytelling, but also other forms of artistic expression such as ground art, sculpture and body art. Many Aboriginal ceremonies reenact journeys and events from the dream time, following in the tracks of the great ancestor spirits. Lengthy cycles of songs are performed by particular stopping points where a spirit created a feature of the landscape or a plant or animal, and ceremonies are held to release the ancestors' life-giving power. Performers reenact the ancestors' actions, painting their skin and masking themselves with elaborate headdresses and ceremonial dress, so that they take on the ancestors' identity. In the excitement of the ceremony, the presence of the ancestors can be felt by the performers. Some indigenous societies perform elaborate initiation ceremonies to welcome young men into their group. When a boy reaches puberty, he is removed from his family to spend some time in the company of men. During this time, many secret rituals are carried out by the group's elders, including the painting of the boy's body, the teaching of songs, stories and dances, and the setting of tests. In Arnhem Land in northern Australia, most of the initiation rituals take place on a special ground, which is screened off from the rest of the community. The women of the boy's family gather around the edge of the ground to dance and sing, mourning the loss of their child. At one stage in the ritual, the women charge the men with spears, in a symbolic gesture of anger because their child has been taken away from them. Mortuary ceremonies. Another major ritual is the mortuary ceremony, which is intended to guide the souls of the dead back to the spirit world. In the mortuary ceremony of the Tiwi people from Melville and Bathurst Islands, songs and dances are performed around specially carved and painted posts, representing dead members of a society. At the climax of the ceremony, special bark baskets are broken over the posts, symbolising the setting free of the spirits of the dead. Different aspects of Aboriginal life are reflected in their ceremonies. Rain ceremonies are performed to encourage rain to fall in times of drought. Courtship rituals can involve groups of men or women performing dances and songs to suitable partners, while fire ceremonies are used to express anger or resolve a conflict. The fire ceremony symbolises first the bringing of a grievance into the open, and then the solving of that grievance by the dramatic burning of branches. These Aboriginal dancers are preparing for a ceremony to honour the Cadigal Society, the original people of the land that is now Sydney. Public ceremonies like these contain elements of the more secret rituals practiced by Aboriginal societies. The Morning Star Ceremony. One of the most striking and complex Aboriginal rituals is the Morning Star Ceremony, performed in Arnhem Land in northern Australia. This mortuary ceremony commemorates the journey of the morning star as it travels through the sky, but also traces the journey that a person's spirit must take after death. At the climax of the ceremony, performers create poles decorated with feathers and hung with tassels. The tassels are of different lengths, symbolising different family groups. The Morning Star ceremony also illustrates the way that different groups come together to perform rituals and to trade. Contemporary dance. In 1989, the Bangarra Dance Theatre was founded. It aims to present Indigenous dance traditions in a contemporary, exciting way. The company has been spectacularly successful, performing all over the world. One of its best-known dances, Praying Mantis Dreaming, is a full-length ballet inspired by a traditional dance from Arnhem Land. During the 1980s, Aboriginal musicians began to form rock bands that merged Indigenous rhythms and sounds, such as the didgeridoo, with Western rock. Most of these bands sing about Aboriginal political themes. The most successful Aboriginal rock band is Yothu Yindi from northeastern Arnhem Land. Its early 1990s song, Treaty, was the first Indigenous rock song to hit the top of the charts. The didgeridoo is a westernised version of this instrument's proper name, which is the magool. Aboriginal songs and dances are accompanied by rhythmical music made on a range of traditional instruments such as didgeridoos and clapsticks. Didgeridoos are made from hollowed out branches or tree trunks and blown to produce loud, deep notes. Clapsticks are pairs of solid hardwood sticks that are knocked together rhythmically. Paired boomerangs are also often used as a percussion instrument. Many Aboriginal instruments are painted with traditional designs and stories that add an extra layer of significance to the music making. Corroborees. As early as the 1840s, European settlers in Australia were showing an interest in Aboriginal ceremonies. However, the Aboriginal people were keen to keep their rituals secret, so they created special performances to entertain the settlers. In these dramatic shows, Aboriginals wore their ceremonial dress and acted out a sequence of mimes, dances and songs based on the Dreamtime legends. The Europeans called all the performances corroborees, a word taken from the Darug language, meaning a general entertainment and celebration. But in fact, each Aboriginal society has its own name for their performances. And that's where I'm going to end the video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching, and see you again next time. Bye.